Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Live Your Life by the Numbers. This is a show about numerology, and for 50 years, my avocation, not my vocation, but my avocation has been the study of numbers. So, in this show, we're going to be discussing the life path number 2. Now, in numerology, as I've mentioned before, in the study of numbers, we analyze the numbers 1 through 9, the master numbers 11, 22, 33, and 44, the karmic numbers 13, 14, 16, and 19. Not all in this show, but we show you how these numbers, merely by adding a few numbers and subtracting a few numbers, you can predict for yourself what your life is going to be like, what this year is going to be like in 2022, what future years are going to be for you, what kind of mate you want to attract, what colors look best on you, your lucky numbers. So we're going to get into all of this, but today we're going to study again, and we're going to hook up with the vibration number 2. So let me just screen share for a moment. Let's get into this. And as I mentioned, why do we say that numbers have power? And the numbers 1 through 9 for life path numbers, 11, 22, the 33, and the 44 have a tremendous amount of power, because if they're found in your life path number, and that life path number is computed merely and simply by adding your month, day, and year together and reducing these 3 numbers to a single digit or a master number. Today, we're going to be talking about the number 2 master number. But why do I say that these numbers have power? These numbers have power and symbolism because each one of the numbers vibrates to a certain frequency. And by studying your own numbers and the numbers of your loved ones, your friends, your family members, your husband, your spouse, your children, you can learn an awful lot about them. You can know what they have to look out for on any given year or in their life in general, and what their attributes are. And the path, the life path, is the path in which you must follow for you to be most successful. That's already established in your month, day, and year of birth. So it's important to study these 3 numbers and to get this life path, this highway to success for yourself, down pat, okay? Now, I've also mentioned to you in previous shows, and I'm going to mention this in all the shows when I'm talking about the life path numbers and when I talk about the letters of the alphabet. So if you're a little bit ahead of us and you've already been studying numbers for years and you enjoy this, you can just skip this part and move the video to really when I dive deep into the details. So as I mentioned, each letter in the alphabet, A through Z, vibrates to one of these specific numbers, 1 through 9. So the letters that have the 1 vibration are the AJ, and the S, the 2 vibration, are the B, the K, and the T. And here it's important to note that the K is the 11th number in the 11th letter, in the alphabet, and it carries the 11 master vibration. The letters that carry the 3 vibration are the C, L, and the U. And the letters that carry the 4 vibration are the D, M, and the V. And the V, I keep hiccuping. The V in this situation is the 22nd letter of the alphabet, another master number. Now, as there is no 33 letter in the alphabet and no 44 letter in the alphabet, you're not going to have those 2 letters being masterful letters in the alphabet because we only go up to 26. But as you can see here on the screen, 1 through 9 has letters that represent those vibrations. And today we are going to be speaking about the 2 life path number and the 2 vibration in general. As I said, what is the life path number? What does it mean? And why is it important to you? It's important because the life path number is the number that represents the vibration you were meant most to lead in this lifetime that will show you the greatest success in your life. Now, that life path number is going to be made up of 3 numbers: your month of birth, your day of birth, and your year of birth when reduced to a single digit or a master number, okay? So my month and day of birth is going to be different than many of yours out there. However, we may have the same life path number. And you may meet somebody out there that you're a number 1 life path number, and so are they. But your personalities are completely different because the vibrations coming off your month, your day, and your year of birth are completely different. The vibrations coming off of your name, your first and middle, if you had one at birth, and your last name are different. So by analyzing really the alphabet, your month, day of and year of birth, by adding and subtracting a very few numbers, you've got numerology, really the basics of it down pat, which is a faster and a far easier spiritual and scientific study that is easier to learn than any other study there is. And remember, the whole world vibrates, and the whole world is really signified by numbers. We have license plate numbers, phone numbers, social security numbers, and that moment, that hour and minute in the morning and the afternoon that you were born, we can bring the vibrations all the way down to those numbers, and you will see how basically they really, really fit you. Okay. So another thing I want you to know about your life path number is that you chose it. I didn't. Your mother didn't. Your father didn't. Just like spiritually, you have chosen your parents to learn certain lessons. And I'm not saying all of them were easy. Some of us have had very, very hard childhoods, and our parents have had very difficult early beginnings in life or lives in general, but they are still our parents, and that's our environment for a specific reason. Everything in life has to do with learning lessons, forgiving, being grateful, moving on in life. So if you don't like your birthday, you only have yourself to blame. Because, and there is really no blame, there are no bad numbers. Every number, even karmic numbers, the 13, 14, 16, and 7, 16 and 19, these numbers are good numbers. Karma is only teaching you a lesson. And once you have the lesson down, you've paid back your karma and you get to move on. So let's look at how we arrive at that number, that life path number. In an earlier show, I taught you how to compute your number 1 life path number. And today I'm going to show you the same exact way you compute the number 2 life path number and how you arrive at it. So let's look at the birthday number. The last show I gave you a birthday number of 8/25, 1957. Today we're going to analyze the number 8/26, 1957. So let's add this number together. If we add this number together, we come to 8 plus 26 plus 1957 comes to the number 1991. And if we add the numbers 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 1 across, we come to the number 20, which is a higher vibration of the number 2. And if we add 2 plus 0, we come to the number 2. Another way of adding these numbers would be as follows, to add them across. So let's add them across. Let's add 8 plus 26 plus 1957 across. And let's add the 8 to the 26, which is 2 plus 6 would be another 8. So that would be, let's add 8 plus 8. And then 1957 would be a 22. That's a hidden master number there. So we would be adding 8 plus 8 plus 22. And that number would come to 38. And if we were to add 3 plus 8, we would come to an 11, which is another master number. So hidden in this birthday number, 8, 26, 1957 are 2 master numbers. That means that this individual would be in many ways inside, not on the outside. On the outside, they could appear as calm as could be on any given day, but on the inside, they're vibrating very fast. Now, when they're children, this could be too high a vibration for any child to carry. And when the vibration of a master number is too high to carry, the body automatically computes that master number and brings it down to the lower frequency of the number. And the lower frequency of the number 11 master number, 1 plus 1, is 2. So let's look at that birthday number also. That birthday number 26 is a higher level of the number 8 number. The number 8 is a very powerful, magnetic, materialistic, karmic number. It's made up of usually 2 4s, 4 plus 4. But as you can see in this middle number, the birthday number, this 8 number is made from 2 plus 6. And 2 plus 6 is, the 26 is the most convivial, the most friendly of all the 8 numbers, because it's formed with the very cooperative 2 that likes to get along with people and is patient and is fun to be around. And the number 6, which gives it authority and voice, is more colorful, is very family oriented. The number 26 loves children and loves animals. It's just very, very convivial. But it's not as pushy and as strong as the number 8, yet it accomplishes the very same thing. It accomplishes as a master number 22 on a very broad, large level. The number 1957 also comes to a 22, another masterful number. So this person is a very strong, powerful individually, basically, in life. And it's going to have a lot of power in its punch. Now, as I mentioned, you can see that the second part of that number, the 26 and the 8, this number, 8, 26, 1957 as a birthday, contains 2 master numbers. Now, as I've already said, in the number 1 life path, which I've taught you in another show, it says, I'm number 1. I'm the best. I individuate. I lead. I can do things alone. I'm articulate. I'm the one that gets people together. Basically, I'm the king of the jungle. But nothing gets done that the number 1 begins unless it has the number 2. So today we're going to look at that number 2 life path, which we've just computed. It's a number 11, but say you were a child or you couldn't handle that number 2 life, that 11 life path because it was too strong for you, you could lower that vibration to the number 2. And the number 2 vibration and life path number is the number of the peacemaker. The number itself is an extrovert as opposed to the number 1, which is an introvert. It's an even number. Even numbers, like extroverts, get along with people. They seek people out in which to accomplish, where the number 1 really and the introvert can think alone and appreciates doing it alone. This number is a feminine number, the number 2. And it's ruled by the moon. And somewhere in their astrology, very predominantly placed, is or are a Virgo, a Libran, or a Scorpio. Now, why do I say a Virgo? Because the number 2 is extremely dexterous. It's analytical. It's very, very statistical in nature. It's exacting. And the number 2 has a tendency to be very, very exacting and having those qualifications. For example, when a number 2 person, which represents also hand dexterity, when a number 2 cleans your house, there's nothing left in the corners. It's very, very clean, okay? It's got the number of Virgo, which likes things neat, clean, and in its place. It appreciates order in one's life. A Libran, why would a Libran, or could a Libran possibly be in the number 2 or the 11 life path? Because it's weighing, it's looking for balance, harmony, peace in its life path number. And the Scorpio, why would it have Scorpio? Well, on the 11 life path level, the 11 life paths meant to illuminate. So the 11 does a deep dive in, ferrets out all the facts, keeps digging and digging and digging until it gets to the truth. And Scorpios take nothing at face value. They are always looking for the truth. So some of the key words that we're now going to go over that you should always know that are attributable to the number 2 life path and the number 11, but we're talking specifically about the 2 because the 11 life path are going to have all the attributes of the number 2 plus attributes of the 11. But the attributes of the number 2 on a positive level will be cooperation, peacemaker. Many of our foreign diplomats are Librans, and they go into the diplomatic corps in order to bring a harmony and bring the 2 sides together. The 2 has plenty of tact, manners, persuasion, adaptability. It rolls with the punches and it adapts. Its favorite saying is join me. The number 2 hates to do anything alone, where the number 1 wants to do everything alone. But the number 1 will never get anything accomplished unless the number 2 comes around to finish off and to continue with groups and other associations what the number 1 has begun. You know, I mentioned once before, and if I didn't, the number 1 that was on another show is usually, when it's young, very airy in nature, very strong-willed. And it rules the sun, the number 1, as the number 2, rules the moon. And the number 1 is often, when it's a child, a headbanger. So often, somewhere up here in the forehead or at the top part of the head, you will see a tiny scar. Sometimes they got stitches when they were young, and it's in the upper part of their head. The number 2, as I mentioned, rules the fingers. And people with the number 2 are usually great, as I mentioned, with their hands. Many artists are number 2s. People that can cook, that can build, can draw, as I mentioned, those that are very analytic and are able to weigh and are statistical, they are the number 2s in our life. And as I mentioned before, many of our number 11, the master numbers, are higher vibrations of the number 2s. They are our actors, our singers, our superstars in almost any field. Politicians, 11. Bill Clinton is the number 11. Master surgeons that are dealing with their hands to do that finite sewing dexterity. I never met my grandmother, but I would imagine that she had finite finger dexterity because she was a beater on wedding gowns, and that takes an awful lot of work. Scientific rocket scientists, they're number 2s. So the number 2s are the lovers in life that appreciate working with others. The number 2 always likes, or most of the time, not going to say always, but most of the time, the number 2 wants to be married. It wants to have a mate. It wants to live with another individual. The number 2 is also the number of children. So number 2s anywhere frequently want to have children, and that is no matter where it appears. If it's a November 2nd, if it's an 11/20, I believe President Biden's number is November 20th. So you see he's born under the 11 for November, and the 20th birthday, he's got 2 2s there. So let's move on. Later, we're going to see that the number 2 can appear not only in your life path number, but as I mentioned, in a birthday number. My mom's birthday was August 2nd, which is the lower vibration of President Biden's birthday, which is the 20th. The number 2 can appear in your achievement number, which is found by adding your month and day of birth together, okay? And that could be January 1st. That could be, let's see, August 12th. That could be December 2nd. No, December 8th, because that would be a 20. The pinnacles of attainment are what you can attain during 9-year cycles. In your life. We're going to go over that at another period of time, but it can show up there. The number 2 can show up in your challenge. And for example, if you're born on December 28th, the December 1 plus 2 is a 3. And the 28th, 2 plus 1 for a birthday number is a 1. And your achievement challenge, we would be subtracting the smaller number 1 from the larger number, which is a 3, and that challenge would be a number 2. So someone born on December 28th, their challenge would be to be more diplomatic, to be a peacemaker, to be statistical, to have all the qualities and attributes of the number 2. So let's move on and let's look at the family of 2s. You'll see that I mentioned before, as in the 1s, there was a family of 1 numbers. We had the 1, the 19, the 28, the 37, the 48. No, we had the 1, the 19, the 28, the 37, the 46, the 55, the 64, the 73, the 82. All of these life path numbers vibrate to the number 1. We also have life path numbers that vibrate to the number 2 or the number 11, and they would be 20 and 29. They vibrate to the number 2 as well. And we have some more number 2 life path numbers, and they would be the 38, the 47, the 56, the 65, the 74, the 83, the 92. All of these numbers add up to an 11, and the 11 would reduce 1 plus 1 to the number 2. So like the number 1, there are positive and passive and negative aspects to the number 1. And let's look at all number 2s, okay, and see what their positive, what their passive, and their negative attributes are. Their positive attributes are they're extremely intuitive. Many of them are very psychic. And that's because they receive. The number 2 receives. And so it receives impulses very well, very easily. The number 2 can stand next to someone in a crowd and can feel, literally feel, whether their vibration is peaceful or hostile or worried. So sometimes it's kind of hard to fib to anybody with a heavy number 2 life path number, because they'll pick it up. As I mentioned, they're very intuitive. Many are clairvoyant. They're poised. They're extremely perceptive. They're very good at revealing the truth. They're visionaries. Many of them are inventive and prophetic in nature. They can see ahead, where we're really standing here looking at what's in front of us. The number 2 can see the landscape in life. They're also imaginative, and I suppose that's why they're great writers and storytellers and actors and inventors for that matter. On a passive level, they would be opposite that. They would be bumbling in nature and lethargic, sometimes just the opposite, high strung, unaware, not really in the groove, observing what's going on. Some would be aloof, very provincial. Many 2s could be fearful of the unknown, dull, illusionary. On a negative note, they would be just the opposite of the positive. They would be misguided, uninformed, erratic, unable to stay the course. The number 2 should be live its life more like a tennis player. Go out into the world and always come back to the center line on the court of life, so that they're always ready to receive from the left, receive from the right, and know how to hit the ball over the net. On a negative level, they can be overzealous. They can be unequivocal. It's their way or the highway, warped, unfocused, vacillating. As I mentioned, the Libran has a tendency to vacillate sometimes, and to be unenthusiastic. Similar to the number 1, which is an introverted number, the number 2 is an extroverted number. And some of our number 1s are made of 2 extroverted numbers. So 2 plus 8 is conceived, that number itself, if it's your birthday, is arrived at by 2 extroverted numbers, the 2 and the 8. There are 2s that are formed, as I mentioned, from an extroverted number and an introverted number. For example, the 3 is an introverted number, but the 8 in 38 is an extroverted number. The 4 in 47 is an extroverted number, but the 7 is an introverted number. So here, these 11s, because they all vibrate to an 11, or 1 plus 1 equals 2, if we reduce it, have both qualities of the introvert and the extrovert, depending upon what numbers come first. And the 11s, as I've mentioned before, are all superstars, basically. So that's kind of it right now for the number 2 or the 11 life path number. This show basically being on the number 2, but I've added in the number 11 because there is so much there that is similar, because when you can't live the 11 life path number because it's vibrating on steroids, as we say, you can live very peacefully on the level of the 2 life path number, which is terrific. So if you like and you'd like to know more about numerology and these numbers, as I mentioned, I've got a whole host of shows that I'll be putting up on the 3 life path number, the 4 lucky numbers, karmic numbers, what to eat, what colors to wear, your pinnacles of attainment, your challenges, your birthday numbers. Just stay tuned, because all these shows are coming up. If you like the show and you want to subscribe to it, please do so below. And please check out my books. I have 4 books out there on numerology, and they are volumes 1 and 2 that are Live Your Life by the Numbers, Your Guide to Numerology. The 3rd book is a wonderful book that I absolutely enjoyed writing, and that is Raise Your Kids by the Numbers, Your Child's Guide to Numerology. And the reason why I wrote a book on children is because children vibrate at a much lower frequency than adults do. They're in the early vibratory capacity of their lives. And if you study children's numbers at a very early age, you can guide them as to which way to go best. And you won't be as neurotic and fearful as a parent, because you will see the whole scope of what your child's potential is, and you'll be able to guide your child in a better way. My 4th book is another very easy book. We're going to be going into that in the future, and that is a book on double digits. And what it's called is double digits and the power of the double digit numbers. So I welcome the opportunity for you to review and buy these books on Amazon, and do a deep dive into these numbers and see how you can compute your own number, or stay tuned, because we have plenty of shows coming up. So I thank you very much. Once again, I'm Sylvia DiPietro. And as I mentioned, I am a student of numerology as an avocation for over 50 years. And I'm a practicing trust and estates attorney as a vocation. If anybody tells you that they've obtained a reading from me, please do not believe them. I am not doing readings right now, so that would not be true if they told you that. I look forward to seeing you in the future. And I want to thank you very, very much for coming and for viewing this show. Bye for now, and I hope to see you in the future.